Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined here by Rob, who's stuck in some traffic. That's pesky old traffic there. Seems like every day I deal with it myself on the way home from work, and definitely ain't fun, but it's part of when you live with somewhere where a lot of people live. I mean, let's be honest, I'm down here in the Tampa Bay area. It's a lot of people here. Rob's in Jersey, obviously the most densely populated state in the entire country, so it's kind of hard to avoid people. But either way, guys, we keep coming. More and more content for you guys. As always, like I said, we do a minimum 3 episodes per week here. So we got some news here to go with you guys. I'll be honest with you guys, kind of a late news day. But we're going to go over some things. Got one more bit of Ojulari news that popped out here today. We're going to go over remaining needs for the team now that we're through the first 2 weeks of free agency there, basically. And also going over with you guys a mock draft, because we've done them before, but obviously things change once you sign people. A lot of people we did a mock draft kept saying, what about a corner? What about a corner? Well, we got a pretty decent corner in free agency. That definitely drops the bar on the need for the corner position, for example. Doesn't take it away. Don't get me wrong, because I would love to have somebody to actually compete with Deonte Banks, but definitely makes it less of a pressing needs. No pun intended for press corners there. Let's dive right into it, though. First thing we got here to talk about is the last little bit of Azeez Ojulari news here, because obviously he signed it today with the Philadelphia Eagles, 1-year deal. It's a $4 million deal overall, so not exactly a break the bank. And a lot of people kept saying, like, what the hell? Why didn't the Giants pay that? Like, what the hell? Like, is Joe Shane asleep at the wheel? And we said that night in the show, listen, just because he signed for $4 million doesn't mean that he could have signed with the Giants for $4 million. To me, it was pretty obvious that the Giants wanted Azeez Ojulari to stay a Giant, and that if Azeez Ojulari wanted to stay a Giant, it would have been a done deal. $4 million is nothing. And I hate to say that. It sounds weird, but let's be honest. In a football world, that is nothing. But it got broken today here by Dan Duggan of The Athletic. He said, the Giants tried to re-sign Ojulari according to a league source. The terms of their offer was unknown, but Ojulari chose to join the Super Bowl champs, where he'll have an opportunity to thrive as a pass rush specialist on a loaded defense. So exactly what we thought was going to happen there, basically. Like I said, that first night, the Giants did try to keep Ojulari. He just didn't want to come back, guys. Can you really blame him? I hate to be the negative Giants fan, but can you really blame the man? He hasn't exactly had a ton of success here. 4 years, only one of which healthy, was been really good at getting to the quarterback, but has been horrendous against the run. And I think what he's thinking is go to see, Vantry over at, Philadelphia there for a year, rebuild your capital, so to speak, there, your value to the league, and go for a big contract the next year. I mean, how many people have you seen in Philadelphia? And I hate to toot their own horn here for them, but how many people you see in Philadelphia get like 10 sacks all of a sudden? And that 1 year was what, 4 or 5 people got 10 sacks? I mean, it's insane. So he can go there. He can try to build up his value. Then they can go ahead and go for a big contract. I don't think he saw the same opportunity in New York. I really don't. He's got an option where he can go somewhere that people have had success and rebuild his stock. Like I said, I can't blame the man for that. Again, I think it's just funny because I feel like, again, he got so much crap over to Saquon Barkley when he went. I just don't see anybody else. That's the only part I do find a little bit funny about the whole thing. But, again, he's going to a place that he thinks, whether we agree or not, doesn't matter. In the end, it doesn't matter at all, because all that matters is what he thinks. He's the one who has to make the decision to live with the consequences. And he doesn't seem to think that it's as good an opportunity in New York. And like I said, I really can't sit there and say I blame the man. considering everything going on there. And then you lose guys like, Brandon Graham retires this offseason, and he's got a little easier road to playtime there as well. Whereas with the Giants, you got Brian Burns. He's not going to beat him out. Kayvon Thibodeau, it's not going to beat him out. We saw the difference in the run game when he was, when Kayvon was out for a little while with Ojulari starting instead. So, like I said, I can't blame the man. As much as I want to get pissed when somebody leaves us for the Eagles, I can't blame the man. I just thought it was interesting the Giants did, as we suspected, try to re-sign Ojulari. He just didn't want to come back. That's what it boils down to. Unless they throw a BS offer, like here's 1 year, $1 million kind of thing. That's the only way I'll say it, that he just didn't, is that otherwise that he just didn't want to come back, because $4 million, if anything, I can give some blame to Shane in that whole thing. Because I go to $6 million. Come on back. I'm giving you 1.5 times as much. Because even $6 million, he's worth $6 million. And what he does from a pass rusher specialist kind of, standpoint there. The problem is the Giants keep putting him in a position where he has to start because of injuries and all. He's not a starter. But he's a damn good pass rushing specialist, I think. If he's healthy and can stay healthy. Which, unfortunately, he just hasn't been able to do, so. All right, guys, let's get into what's going on now. The free agency is, I wouldn't say over, but the first buzz, the first wave is over here. Let's talk about the Giants' remaining roster needs. Now, the biggest need we have in this roster, let's be honest, has been a horse we've been beating dead now for months now, and that's quarterback. I can go over all the options with you again, guys, individually, but we've already done that plenty of times this show. So we'll just keep it simple. Aaron Rodgers, still debating what he wants to do, and the Giants keep letting him debate that for some reason. Russell Wilson, by all accounts, wants to come here and is kind of being held hostage by Aaron Rodgers. And they got Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston have already come in, obviously, for their visits, and they're kind of like option 3 and 4 here at this point. But the other things they need, I care a lot about this one, so I'm going to mention this one on the list here. But to be honest, I don't think it's as big a need as some people think, and that's right guard. I know a lot of people are thinking that we need to upgrade over Greg Van Roten, who's obviously getting a little up there in age there at that point, and would provide depth if we can put him on the bench, because, to be honest, we've had injuries every single year. Plus a little shaky play at center, he could play as well. So the last one's defensive line. I feel like defensive line is a spot that, for whatever reason, is not talked about. And this was the same last year, just not talked about enough. I mean, this team point blank needs defensive linemen. And why this hasn't been a bigger priority, I don't know. And that's not, again, last year and this year. I don't know. You look at what we've lost here on defense. It's been secondary, which we've now rebuilt. Especially at the safety position. Again, drafted one, got one in the free agency. But the defensive line, it's like, again, last year they kept on trying to get, 7th round picks, 6th round picks, undrafted rookie free agents, get these guys to come in and create a big, a big effort play and help, Dexter Lawrence out. But you're asking too much of them. And now this year, we signed a couple guys who have been backups and spot starters. We already have that in Nacho. Like Raheem Nunez-Roches literally has been that role for much of his career. We don't need more of that. We need guys who are legitimate, starting caliber guys who can take some of the pressure off of Dexter Lawrence. And that's not what we're getting right now. So that's definitely a spot I'd love to see us upgrade. I do think we will upgrade there at the draft, personally. We'll see how that goes there. The last bit of upgrade we need to do here, and that's why I say the last position before, is just an overall thing. It's depth. We're going to need more depth, guys. When it boils down to it, we're going to need some more depth. I wouldn't be shocked if we go out and get a wide receiver, because you really want to count on Jalen Hyatt again. Wouldn't be shocked at all if we go ahead and get, maybe another running back. You want to count on Eric Ray again? Maybe another corner or so. So there'll be some more depth pieces that are still going to be coming at that point there. Wouldn't be shocked if another edge rusher comes in as well. But I don't expect, a ton. Because I think a lot of that will come after the draft. It'll be a second round of cuts usually after the draft. Sometimes what you draft determines what you need afterwards. That second wave of, a free agency attack there. So we'll see what happens. But honestly, I look at this roster, and you got the gaping hole at quarterback, obviously. Like, you can't ignore that. But already the secondary is better. I think we've upgraded at the defensive line, even not to the degree that I want, obviously, but we still upgraded the defensive line. We added to the edge room. We added legitimate swing tackles. Again, they're not great players, but they're at least tackles. Not the guards we've been trying to force to play tackles. So, not a bad start to free agency, but let's be honest, it's all going to hinge on what happens at that quarterback position. And we'll find out there shortly. But in the meantime, that's all the remaining needs that I think we really need to attack here for the rest of free agency here. So, all right, let's talk about a couple of those spots because we've talked about quarterback ad nauseum here, and I kind of feel like, unfortunately, some of the other positions have been kind of left to the wayside because of all the quarterback talk. It tends to kind of take over, and you can't just let it take over and ignore the fact that we do have some other needs. As I mentioned, there's a lot of people that think we need to look at right guard specifically, and I don't personally fall into that category. Let me be very clear on that. Not to say we can't use an upgrade there. I just don't think there's really upgrades available, guys. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but all the good guards are gone, guys. You want to get great guards, hypothetically, in this free agency class. Trey Smith is not an option. Will Fries, not an option, which, by the way, the Giants did talk to him. He wanted, from what I heard, first off, besides the fact he got a ton of money, he also wanted people to sign him without even looking at his medicals. I would never trust that as an NFL team. Why are you hiding your medicals? That's something you should want people to be looking at. Taven Jenkins gone. Kevin Zeitler, ex-Giant, gone. James Daniels gone. Mekhi Becton gone. There's a lot of Makari's gone. Aaron Banks is gone. There's a lot of guys out there. If you look at the top, 10 guards that were there, maybe one or two left. That's it, guys. A lot of them came off the board pretty quick there, and a lot of them got overpaid, to be very frank. Let's look real quick at Will Fries is a good example, since that's the guy that Giants actually did look at, and he, like I said, he got a ton of money. 5 years, $88 million, guys. That's insane money. Now, if you look at what he did last year, he played 5 games. 5 games. By the way, it's only his second year as a starter. He didn't start really at all his rookie year. Popped in 3 games and that's it. Played 16 games his second year, but only started 9 of them. So he didn't start the year as a starter. He kind of got into that role. 23 had the starter spot locked down. And then last year, like I said, played 5 games and I got injured. It's a lot of money the Vikings just gave to him for a guy you haven't seen that. So I'm glad the Giants didn't go crazy. Now, did he have a great year last year in the 5 games? Hells to the yeah. But can I trust that he would have done it all of 17? No. So I'm glad the Giants passed there. So here's what we got option-wise left. And they're not great, guys. Let me be very frank on that. And this is why I keep saying we don't really need the position. The options we have left that I'm looking at is who's available at guard and who are the top ones that are available left. You got ex-Commander, ex-Jaguar, Brandon Scherff. Obviously, Giants fans remember him from his days with DC there, but 33 years old now he is. 6'5", 315 pounds. In 24 with the Jaguars, he had a 64.7 PFF grade, 74.5 pass block grade, and a 57.3 run block grade. So, not the player he used to be by any stretch of the imagination, at least not last year. But again, he's got a pedigree. He's 33 years old, so you can't sit there and say he's tremendously, old at that point. Not exactly a top tier guard, though, at least based on what he did last year, though. We also got an old friend of ours, Will Hernandez, who really, I don't want to say blossomed because he never became an amazing player. I had a lot of high hopes for him coming out of the draft, actually. I liked him a lot. Didn't live up to the expectations whatsoever, obviously, we got him, though. He's now 29 years old, 6'2", 332 pounds. Last year with the Cardinals, 69.3 PFF grade, 74.2 pass block grade, and a 66 run block grade. So not too shabby, And I say not too shabby compared to Scherff, because Scherff's on the downstroke here, so to speak. He's kind of, getting worse than what he used to be. So I can't sit there and say, oh, great. But listen, Will Hernandez, we would have loved to have that from him his years with the Giants. To be very clear with that, we would have loved to have that kind of production from him back in those days. Another guy who seems to be the perennial free agent is Dalton Risner, 29 years old now, 6'5", 312 pounds. Last year with the Vikings, 67 PFF grade overall, 76.2 pass block, 57.4 run block. The biggest thing that scares me is, again, like I said, I feel like he's always available. And I don't know if there's a personality issue there, what the case may be, but you look at his career, and he's gone to, just two places, but he was thought of as a big time free agent by a lot of pundits back in 22. Took forever for him to sign with the Vikings. And then again, took forever for him to sign again with the Vikings last year. And now here he is 2 weeks into free agency, and he's still available yet again. That tells me there's something the NFL knows that we don't know. And I'm not going to question what it could be potentially, because I have no clue. No clue. All I know is when you have a player that's a legitimate starter in this league, who perennially is available for some reason, and he's only now 29 years old. I mean, he was 27 back when this 3-year stretch of this happening started. There's something we don't know, guys. What that is, I have, again, no clue, but there's something we don't know. Now, here's why I say to you guys, I wouldn't personally go crazy at the guard position. Now, again, I should preface this with PFF is not the end all that be all. And I 100% agree, understand that. I'm just trying to give you guys stats that I can based on what position they play. So, Greg Van Roten last year, 63.4 PFF grade. So, yeah, a worse PFF grade than all three of these guys. 64.9 pass blocking grade. About 10 to 12 points lower than what these three gentlemen are at last year. 62.3 run blocking grade. It's higher than 2 out of 3. That's where it's at. It's higher than 2 out of 3. So is it really that great of an upgrade? I can't sit there and say that. And if you got to pay these guys $8, $9, $10 million a year, is it worth it to get a guy that's slightly better than a guy you currently have? Not to mention the fact that we have other options as well. Evan Neal is going to probably be converted to a guard this offseason. Josh Uzudu can go ahead and actually play the position he was drafted to play. To me, I would go ahead and just put those three in there and let the best man win. And if it's Greg Van Roten, that's fine. We ride with Roten again. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Again, I don't think the other guys are that much an upgrade. We already got Greg Van Roten ready to go. He knows the offense. He's got continuity at that point with the guys next to him. Could do a whole lot worse, guys. So, like I said, I personally, this is what I would do. I would keep it there. Now, if you really feel like there's an issue that you need to fix, maybe you go get a guy in the draft. That's an option as well. We've done that before in our mock drafts. I'd have no problem with that. Let's see. Jay says Evan Neal is available at guard. Yeah, and he said probably will. Probably will be available at guard. Like I said, I think I'm going to convert him. Jay says, I thought we were going to draft Scherff. Yeah, he's the definitely guy I thought too as well. Might be a Giants target when he came out, but Commanders got him early. JL says Zeitler will still super good at 35, but signed with the Titans. Exactly. Because even the Titans realize you got to protect the quarterback. And they have not been doing the best at that. Now, he didn't sign for a lot of money either. That's the crazy thing. If I remember correctly, he did not. Now, he may also have issues with the franchise because I don't think he was very happy with the way things worked out with the Giants when he was there. But 1 year, $9 million is where he got, from the Titans there. I mean, to me, honestly, that kind of seems like a steal. I know he's a little up there now, 35, like you said, but an 86.5 PFF grade. 70.7 against the pass with pass blocking, so just about the same as everybody else here, but 87.2 for run blocking. And you never heard anything but great things about him when he's with the Giants. So yeah, I would have loved to have him come back as well myself, but unfortunately that option is off the table. JL says Greg Van Roten showed leadership skills as well. Yes, he did. 100%. And he shows some fire. All righty, guys. Let's get into our next segment here. One more spot I want to go over. Options at the the need for the Giants, which is defensive line at this point. Again, I feel like this has been a spot we've been ignoring for a while now, and potentially partially because we have a lot of needs. Let's be honest here. It's not a good roster. But Rob and I were just like nonstop corner defensive line last year. Corner defensive line, saying how much of an issue was, screaming it from the rooftops basically before the season even started. And the Giants just ignored this position. Thank God Elijah Chapman became something. Imagine if he wasn't anything, how bad it would have been. Imagine if he was an average undrafted rookie free agent. That would have been like killer for the Giants to lose even a little more depth at that point that they had. I looked at what you got here in defensive line, guys. I got to be honest with you. Much like guard, there's not a ton of great options here. I did come up with two guys that I like. Two guys. And first guy is John Jenkins. Jenkins is 35 years old now, so he's definitely getting a little up there on the age barometer there. 6'3", 327 pounds. Last year with the Raiders, had a 53.1 PFF grade, 57.5 pass rush, 49.9 run defense. Now, you're probably saying, that's not good. And you'd be right. It's not good. But at the same point, you don't want to see what the other options are right now. There's not a lot of great defensive linemen out there because we didn't address it early. When you don't address a problem early, it becomes a little bit of an issue. And now this is what we're kind of left with here. I know we addressed some of the other problems early on. I think they should have gotten a defensive lineman in this early on part as well. That's a legit defensive lineman, not the couple guys we got that are probably best as bench pieces at this point there with spot starts. Another option, and this is a guy that I got to say, guys, if we can sign him, I would be very happy. I have met this man multiple times. Don't want to say too much as far as where he lives, but I can tell you he lives in the Tampa Bay area. And like I said, I've gotten the chance to meet him numerous times because of that. DeShawn Williams, 32 years old, 6'1", 295 pounds, had a 47.9 PFF grade. Again, not going to get great PFF grades at this point. That's why these guys are still available. 53.8 pass rush grade, 41.3 run defense. And I got to say, one of the reasons why I like the idea of getting him, besides the fact that he actually has a relationship with Dexter Lawrence, the two of them went to school at Clemson just a year or two apart, so they didn't play together, but there's a year or two difference there, but they do know each other. I know that for a fact. And I can tell you he had nothing but amazing things to say about Dexter Lawrence when he and I talked about him before. But I can tell you that he's a guy that I can tell the personality of him, again, from having these conversations with him. I'm waiting for Jay to say I'm name dropping again. I'm not even name dropping. I just happened to have met the guy a couple times to run into him. But he's a guy that I think would work well in the locker room. He's a really nice guy, good personality overall. Like I said, I just think that he's a guy that'd be a good fit for us. Again, as like a bench piece guy that could spot start if you had to, and it may very well be a scenario, guys, where we have to go in and have a bunch of guys like that, and it's made the best man win. Because even if we go ahead and get one more defensive lineman in the draft, hypothetically, we're going to have another spot. It's a 3-4 defense, guys. We're going to have another spot. And I just look at the whole scenario and go, get a couple and just see who wins. The winners start, the backups backup. Like that's simple. And it's one of those things that, you look at that kind of scenario and you get like 4 or 5 guys in that role, maybe you don't have the best starting caliber, but you go ahead and get a whole bunch of decent depth at that point. And that's something. That's still something. There's plenty of teams that have no depth whatsoever at a lot of positions. So if we can have depth, that's great. We didn't have depth this year, guys. We got guys off the streets all year long last year at the defensive line here. So as we got Rob here now, let's bring him in here as well so he can give some thoughts on this too. But, again, I look at what we have, and I think we need better starters. But if that's not an option right now, at least we can get better depth at the defensive line there. So,
that's definitely a need, big time.
Like I said before, like we've ignored this forever. How many times did you and I beat the drum about how bad this defensive line was before the whole season started?
For the past 3 years.
It's insanity. Like, again, Dexter Lawrence is not a one-man army, guys. He's not. You go ahead and you get guys who can go ahead and, like a Roy Robertson Harris, a Jeremiah Ledbetter, you go ahead and get guys like that, and you add in 1 or 2 more, like a John Jenkins or DeShawn Williams, like we're talking about here today. You draft one, and now again, you don't have the best defensive line group ever. Let's be honest. We're not going to take it from a weakness to a strength in one off season. But if you can bring them from a weakness to an okay, that's not bad. That's
yeah. I mean, just look at the offensive line last year. How much before they got hurt, like how much better we said they looked.
Yep.
Just the NFL. But it's pretty easy to go from better from when you're ranked at 30 to go up 10 spots or 15 spots.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, it's just you got to do something. You can't just sit idle. You can't sit in your hands. So,
no.
All righty. Well, Rob came in at perfect timing, guys.
Ooh.
Absolutely perfect timing here, because we're going to do something we did a while ago there, and you guys seemed to like it. You guys had a lot of fun with it there. So we're going to go ahead and do another mock draft, because I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this now that we're post the first 2 weeks of free agency. Again, as I said, things change. That's what happens. Things change as you go ahead and get, players. So let's get into our mock draft here. Let's get into. Here we go. Up. Here we go. Let's do it the other way. There we go. We can see it better now. Let's get rid of this Instacart commercial here. Again, guys.
Speaking of which, hold on, guys.
They have to pay to be on here. Damn it.
Yeah.
So again, guys, if you haven't already, if you've been with one of our mock drafts here, this is with PFN. That's the one I always like to recommend, but I want to give them the credit in case you're on your phone or whatever and have trouble seeing what site we're using. It's free. It gives you the ability for trades. A lot of them don't give you free full 7th round with trades. They're not sponsoring the show, for the record. We're just trying to give credit where credit is due. So, all right. So let's get right into our 7th round mock draft. Now, before I even start this, Rob, I want to see we're on the same page here on this. Do you want us to look at moving up to get Cam Ward? Or are you the same boat as myself that I don't think we have a shot in hell of getting him, move on, and call it a day?
We could play with the idea. It doesn't mean we have to settle on the idea. We could play with it. We could tickle a little bit.
Well, that's up. Oh, it already went. I'll refresh it so we can try it again.
Yeah.
It did not work out as I planned. Probably because I hit fast. There we go. Oh, I got it that time beforehand. Okay. So you want to try to do a trade. Let's try and do a trade. Propose a trade. Trade with the Tennessee Titans. Now, we're going to have to give up our 3rd pick, obviously, and they're going to give us their 1st. Now, I would love if that kind of trade made sense, but obviously it doesn't. So what are you thinking?
I mean, how cheap do you think we could lowball him? You think you could just get away with a second round next year.
There's no way in
like-
hell they take that.
And like a third this year.
Here's what I was thinking. If you want to go for it, try second round and pick 65 this year. We still have our comp pick at 99, so we still have a third round pick. I don't think that's enough to do it. Let me be very clear on that. But anything more than that, I would have no interest in it.
Yeah. Let's give it a shot.
Let's see what happens.
Let's get a little tickle.
Let's see. Fingers crossed. Can we get Cam Ward? Rejected. So, do we want to try anything else?
No, that's it.
We're moving on. We're saying to the Titans.
Bye.
Remembering this, the Titans.
Yeah.
All right.
The next time we meet Titans.
First pick was Cam Ward, as we expected. Then we went ahead and got the Browns went ahead and got Travis Hunter. So there goes that option off the board. So now here's the interesting thing that I've seen multiple times. And by the way, I should also preface this: we got no trade offers whatsoever. But
interesting.
Abdul Carter, you got him as an option here. Mason Graham is still an option. Will Campbell, which get him, put him to right tackle, move Illuminor to right guard. Now you've helped the offensive line. Ashton Gentry, I can't imagine we're going to do a third overall pick for a running back, considering what happened with the Saquon Barkley scenario. Like we can get it. We also got Tyrone Tracy Jr. That'd be something the Falcons would do. But I look at options here, and you got Shedeur ranked number 10. I couldn't care about the rankings. It's a quarterback. You know, I want to say that Carter may be the best player in this draft, and I've said this multiple times. But I feel like at the same point, you're looking at a scenario where he's got injury issues. We already have 2 edge rushers that we've invested into, one at a 5th overall pick, one at a ridiculous contract. Though it does look a little less ridiculous now, doesn't it? But
yeah.
But I would have to go Shedeur Sanders personally.
You could probably trade down to Jacksonville.
There's no trade offered. Do you want to propose a trade? Because you're always proposing.
I'm always proposing.
We did that once. I remember we did that once. So you want to trade down with Jacksonville. What do you think we're going to get for that?
Obviously, see if we get their...
Want a second round pick?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they want Abdul Carter. Rejected. Now, keep in mind, here's what scares me about this scenario. If we move down to 5, like you're suggesting, first off, the Jaguars, at least in this mock draft scenario, aren't too interested, or they would have given us an offer. But you're telling the risk that the Patriots maybe move back with the Raiders. The Raiders move up. The Raiders go ahead and take Shedeur Sanders.
They also got Geno Smith, too.
Yeah. And how old is Geno?
I mean, it's also the Raiders we're talking about here.
I understand that, but it's also Tom Brady running the Raiders, supposedly. So if you listen to reports. So it's a new Raiders. Mark Davis and his bolt cut aren't in charge anymore.
Touche. I mean, it's not really a mockery, but I guess let's go Shedeur because that's what let's face it, that's what our
what we're gonna
do. Yeah.
There we go. Shedeur Sanders is a Giant officially. Let's take a look here. So now we got 2 picks overall in this. So 3 picks overall on day 2 here. So you got the Bengals are offering us pick 49 and a second round pick next year for 34 and giving up 246. The Falcons are basically offering the same exact thing, but they're at pick 46. So you definitely would take that over, yeah. So do you want to move back 12 spots, give up a 7th round pick, and potentially lose out on some players here? I don't want to do that personally. I want to build up this defensive line. You got a lot of good tackles here. They're not going to be available in 15 spots.
No. I mean, I'm okay with go with either Nolan or Grant.
Which is weird because Harmon they have listed as better, but I don't think he necessarily fits what we're looking for, and that's part of where that boils down to. Plus, a little snake bitten on Oregon defensive lineman.
Yeah.
You cave on. Honestly, I would go Walter Nolan here.
Yeah. I agree. Like I said, I'm fine with either one of those guys.
All right. Let's go Walter Nolan. We got him.
Walter Nolan, step on right up. You're the next up on the Giants show.
So now we got the very first pick in the third round. Keep in mind we have pick 99, I believe it is, also later on. That's the comp pick we got from Xavier McKinney. So the Cowboys are offering us 76 and a third of next year for 65 and 219. The Patriots are offering us 69. Whoa. That's a bit formal. Giving us a fourth next year, but we're also giving up 246. I don't know about you, but I really don't want to give up anything.
Yeah, I'm good right now.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. But where I'm also at, though, is I don't necessarily look at this lineup of people going, I must get this player. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to tackle? Like, are we trying to beef up the line still? We got two. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like
Cleve Johnson.
I feel like there's needs that we have, and that's part of the problem you run into when you do this kind of thing. Are you going to draft based on need, or are you going to go ahead and just get best player available? Because best player available, according to this, Jalen Milroe, we're obviously not going for him.
Yeah.
So that makes me think we should go with an offensive lineman. You know, I'm going to say Marcus Mbao because he also is projected to move inside. He played tackle at Purdue, but as you see, I think they said it here as well. Let's see here. There we go, right here. So Luke's brightest at center, where his fluid mobility and natural ability to anchor the line set him apart. Yeah, so he's a guy, again, they're going to probably move inside offensive line. That's where our weak spots are right now, especially if, God forbid, JMS fails again. So I would go there, personally.
Yeah.
Done!
That's it.
All right, we got 99 coming up. 99. Okay.
99 pounds.
And offensive line ain't one now. Hit me.
Yeah.
So the Chargers want to move up, and they're going to give us a 6th-round pick next year to move up one spot. Or, oh gosh, this is a big one. The Commanders are offering us 128, 205, and a 5th next year, and they're basically swapping 6 next year. That to me makes no sense whatsoever.
Who's there that they would want?
I don't know. I'm looking at this going, I don't know. Now, there's a player that I want. There's definitely one I want. I want Scatabo. You know this.
Yeah, it's looking down the line.
I mean, we're at the point now where I feel like he would match well with Tyrone Tracy. I really feel like.
I think so.
And a 1-2 combo is what you need. We've already beefed up the offensive line here a little bit there.
Brave guy.
We've gotten a lot of backups there. We're going to have a good depth where if his injuries happen this year, we should be better than we have been. But we're also now getting a running back, which running back are a rookie quarterback's best friend.
They are.
Scatabo. And it's funny, we say that about so many positions. We say about tight end, we say about all so many different spots.
Scatabo.
Scatabo. Squeed up.
Scatabo.
Okay, so here we go. Pick number 105. We're being offered 111 and 146 for 105 and 219. So we're going down 6, but we're going up, I got to do math here, 73 spots.
I actually kind of like that one.
I do too. Unless you're somebody specifically that you're like hell-bent on having to get.
Okay.
All We're taking it.
Yeah.
We're going for it. Boom.
Let's do it.
Boom. All right. And you know what? The guy I wanted, Stewart, the edge out of Michigan. That's who I was kind of already thinking. And I feel bad to a certain degree because we keep on picking defensive players, I feel like, a lot. But
I was going to hit a ransom.
Half. Actually, I take it back. We're only getting offensive players. We only got one defensive player. I was thinking the free agency because we got 11 free agency. Let's go for it. What do you think? You're going to back up edge rusher?
Yeah, I could go. We could do edge or ransom.
There we go. That's where I would. Ransom, you're saying what, for a safety?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a huge ransom fan. I think Stewart, though, is a guy that comes from a well-coached team, obviously in Michigan. Had a lot of good talent around him, and that unfortunately means he could be also fake, fool's gold there too because of that. But I'm going to trust Michigan to get this right, I think.
A lot of faith in Michigan.
Let's go.
All right.
Michigan beats Ohio State again. Oh. Pick. There we go. Round 5. Round 5.
Round 5.
Well, we got a lot of, by the way, no trade offers here. We got a lot of is defensive lineman, edge, that kind of stuff here. And we've already done that. So, that's definitely a bit disappointing to say the least. I look at what's available. Howard Cross the third. Nice legacy pick there. And otherwise you got a whole bunch of bodies, and you want to get another quarterback. You want to go Washington Commander style and get Riley Leonard. I just don't trust him personally. I'm wondering about bringing Tommy Hill in from Nebraska.
I was literally about to say that.
We need some more depth in the secondary. It's the right spot to take him. It's the guy who, Nebraska's got a little bit of a history with us. They were Prince of Mukamura, obviously, way back in the day.
Prince Calabunga.
Ready for it? We going for Tommy Hill? Not to be confused with Tommy Hilfinger. And 154. This is the one we got in that trade here. And if you look, a lot of the guys are still available that we had. You know what I'm wondering? I kind of want to go Commander style right now. And I want to get a second quarterback. I see Kyle McCord sitting there.
What if we get a second quarterback during this offseason here?
Well, so far we don't have one.
This is true.
That's part of the problem we're running into.
What is the loneliest number? Because we still don't have a quarterback.
I mean, I feel like it's just where we're at this point. Like, do you want to go get another lineman?
Good question. Get edge.
We got to get edge. We already got to see. There's no trade offers. Here's part of the problem is that we're at that point where we're kind of starting to fill some of the positions. We got a linebacker, Kaiser out of Notre Dame. And let's be honest, we've already gotten a bunch of them. That's where we're at. So we want to go Crawford, safety out of Nevada. Are we going for need now? Are we doing for need now?
We are doing a little bit of need.
Got the need and the need for speed. So let's go for it. So Tan Crawford, safety out of Nevada. Seventh round pick here. At that point, honestly, D4 picks, you just go what your gut tells you.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you got? Show me what you got.
We got one more pick left, 246. Here we go.
I like what you got.
This is the important one. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to suggest we go for the top of the board there because there's Curtis Rourke who's going to sit the year out anyway. You get him, you sit him for a year, you let him learn, you let him watch tape, and maybe he's your backup once he gets healthy.
I'm not against it.
I give credit to a guy who played through a torn ACL.
Yeah. He's got heart.
That's legit. He's got gumption.
Yeah. He's got the hot kid.
All right, we going with it?
Yeah, let's go.
Curtis Rourke. All righty. So we end up with Shedeur Sanders overall. We do, like I said, that's pretty much the no-brainer there. We kind of all thought that was going to happen. Walter Nolan beef up the defensive line. So that gives you Nolan and Dexter Lawrence with just a bunch of guys to fill out that third spot there. Whoever best man wins. We got Marcus Bedell to be the offensive lineman backup. Again, he's a tackle at Purdue, but probably going to go in towards the inside. Cameron Scatabo, who's I got to say that Scatabo. Speed up. Obviously, bowl game hero at Arizona State, but one of the best running backs in this class. And again, I think a good 1-2 punch with him and Tyrone Tracy Jr. And that's going to help alleviate a lot of pressure off of either whoever's going to be the quarterback, whether it's Sanders or Rodgers or Russell Wilson or whoever the hell it's going to be. But that does alleviate there. You get Stewart out of Michigan to be a backup edge rusher. Keep in mind, again, this has been an issue we've had for a while. Like I look at Timon Fox, for example, is a guy that I feel like we keep bringing back just because we have nobody else that we want to go ahead and bring back here. I realized my Spider-Man thing I was watching is still up there in the corner. Now you all know I watch YouTube videos as well. Tommy Hill, corner out of Nebraska. Again, just trying to build up that room there. Crawford, the safety out of Nevada. So we got another safety to bring into there. Let's be honest here. That's a depth issue at that position. That really is. And then Curtis Rourke, final pick, our own version of Mr. Irrelevant, even though it was pick 246, not the final pick. But final pick for us, going to sit for the year because of an ACL tear. And then you get to bring him in next year and have him maybe be a nice, cheap backup quarterback option, depending on how you feel and how his things are working out for him there. So, again, not too shabby because we got a quarterback. I got to say it right there. If we get Shedeur Sanders at 3, I'm going to say it's success no matter what this draft, because we have a legit quarterback to try to develop. It's hard to mess up from there. It really is. So,
let's mess up the quarterback.
And we built up the line.
Brave guy.
There we go. All righty, guys. That's going to call it a night for us here tonight. So we'll be back again for you guys Monday night. Now, keep in mind that we will be doing things a little bit different coming up soon. We're going to be probably, like I said, I know we've kind of been teasing this a little bit here, but we'll probably be starting our draft coverage hopefully on Monday, as long as we have enough time to get everything finalized with that stuff there. So expect a whole lot of draft coverage coming soon. Like I said, we did about 150 profiles on players last year. That's the goal, again, to get that kind of number. So as always, we'll be recording every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can tell I'm tired today, right?
Yes.
As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch/X. See, I did it again. I don't know why I did it twice now. Twitter/X and Twitch, damn it.
There we go.
And of course, nothing else. We're not and my LinkedIn profile. And of course, as always, we're available on all the audio podcast platforms the very next day. That's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button there. Again, we'll be back again for you guys Monday. Have a happy, safe weekend there. Anybody doing a little weekend plans, enjoy yourself, have a little fun. And we'll see you back here to go be all melancholy about the Giants again on Monday. So appreciate you guys for watching, listening as always. And as always, Giants fans,
Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.